Hey there. So my next guest, sophomore in college, but has been in esports for the past couple of years. And it inspires me to be able to see people like this guest here because they start young and they know what they want. They know where they're going and they're driven to get it. And I think we can all learn a lot from the kind of passion that young people like this guest have. I know you all are going to love it. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Josh Ziluck. Hey there, Josh. How's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
It's a beautiful sunny day in Las Vegas. How about yourself?
It's very snowy up here in Vermont and very cold.
I bet. You couldn't pay me to go up there. All right. Josh, I like getting the show started just right into it. So why don't you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
So I've been in the esports world since I was 16. I joined in through game League of Legends. I'm sure most people have heard of it. And I did a lot of management stuff. I ran rosters of all levels of competitiveness, almost up to the pro level, running semi-pro, like top of the line rosters until I was about 18. And then I swapped over into the world of tournament hosting for League of Legends, where I ran tournaments working with Riot Games directly. And around the same time, I came into college and started to work on Champlain College Esports, where I now currently reside as president of Champlain College Esports, or I'll probably call it CCE a lot, which we go by for short.
Beautiful. That's a lot of history in just very short amount of time. We're going to talk about all of it. Before we do that, I start every interview with a single question. So I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Josh?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna give myself a 7 to be nice.
And why is that?
I don't know. That's a really tough question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. I don't know. I just feel like that number sums up a lot of things pretty well, because it's like a little more than average, but like I'm not like crazy off the walls. So.
Okay. I love it. All right. In that case, Josh, let's kind of get into the interview. This is the Gamerpreneur podcast, so I do need your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
I've been playing video games since really before I could walk. Both of my parents were into gaming. I grew up sitting on my dad's lap while he played World of Warcraft. I used to watch my parents play Mortal Kombat when I was like 3 years old, which is really interesting as a child. So games have always been a part of my life since a super young age.
Love it. And I'm assuming you played your entire life so far. And what do you play today, if anything?
So I spend most of my time playing League of Legends still. And in my like free time when I'm not like grinding League of Legends, I'm a big fan of World of Warcraft still. That was like one of the first real games that I got into when I was younger.
Horde or Alliance?
It's tough because right now all my friends are Alliance, but at the end of the day, I love Horde. I really identify with goblins. A lot, and so I really love playing goblins in all the fantasy worlds I can, but all my friends play Alliance, so kind of stuck there for now.
Goblins were just something we used to kill all the time. That was it. They had no other purpose. All right. In that case, you've been playing. What's your favorite game of all time? Let's just.
Oh, that's a tough question. So it's hard not to just say League of Legends. I've been playing a game for 6 or 7 years now, and it's brought me into the world of esports where I am today. But my favorite game that I probably go back to the most is Batman Arkham Asylum, probably. I love all the Arkham games so much. I've played through all of them a bajillion times. Batman's my favorite superhero too, so that's really
right there with you. I love it. I have to ask though, why Asylum and not say City?
So I was thinking City, but I think I probably have more hours playing Asylum. I know that game in and out. I could find like every Riddler trophy from memory. I could probably just play the game through blindfolded at this point. I spent so many hours inside of Arkham Asylum, and also in Arkham City as well, almost as much.
I I get a lot of hate for it. My favorite was actually Origins because of the crime in
Really?
progress. It just gave you something else to do while you're like, zip into the next
Yeah.
place. Oh, hey, let me go do that.
Yeah, I actually really liked Origins. I used to like bicker with it. I have an older brother who's also really into games, and he hated Origins, and I thought it was really fun because when it came out, I wasn't like super as serious about like critiquing games, and like if it was fun, I liked it, and there's nothing could be wrong if it was fun, and so I just got so much enjoyment out of all of those games for real.
All right, beautiful. Now, Josh, let's get over to the preneur part. You're a tournament organizer. What does that do? What does that mean?
So I'm actually in the process of stepping away from the company that I work at currently. But we host like semi-professional League of Legends tournaments. So like master challenger level players, people aspiring to go professional. Um, and so what we do is like we create tournaments. We host them in tandem with Riot. This year it's now the Riot Proving Grounds. In the past it was Scouting Grounds. And these players trying to go pro come, they play in our tournaments, they earn points for playing in our tournaments. And then the teams and players with the most points go on to compete in front of the professional teams to earn their spot in LCS.
Okay. And what do you do at your new position?
So currently right now, I'm in the process. Since I've our season just ended, for Proving Grounds, I'm stepping away. So I'm looking around right now. I'm probably gonna stick around in the same realm of being sort of a tournament organizer. So like on the ground TO, so that's daily ref work, organizing other referees, putting together rule books and schedules. All that type of stuff is really where I shine with that, and that sort of flows over into my work at the school as well.
Okay, I love it. Now, it seems like how did you fall into this? Like you went from just playing a game one day to running it. Like how does that happen?
Completely by accident, pretty much. I was playing, I met a friend online. He was like, you should come join like this gaming community I'm in. And they were starting up like a silver gold League of Legends team to play in some tournament. And I joined, I played, and I was like, wow, this is fun, like competing. And then from there, I started coaching. Coaching wasn't really the best fit because I love the game and I'm relatively knowledgeable, but I'm not like anywhere near the level of a professional coach. But from there, I was like, I really sort of like not playing, but I'm not the best coach. So I moved into management. And so the most fun part about management is how many people you get to meet because you're always scouting new talent and looking around trying to find the next best player. And so as you do that, you sort of accidentally climb up the ladder from working with players at like low levels of play all the way up to, working with ex-professionals, people trying to go pro, that type of thing.
What is it like getting into the esports industry? It's still fairly new. It's, people are trying to flood into it, trying to figure out how, and you just kind of fell in. Like, what is it like being inside?
It's amazing. A lot of the times people talk about like the gaming community isn't the most accepting or whatnot, but from my personal experience, everyone was always super welcoming. Everyone wants to help the esports industry grow, and that's one thing that I think is really amazing about it. Is there's so many people with all this knowledge from a short window of time that esports has been growing that there's every day there's someone new that you get to meet and you can learn something new from them, and it really helps you grow as someone in the industry.
Beautiful. And what do you think is the most interesting thing you've learned so far?
I think the most interesting thing that I've learned so far is kind of maybe a weird one, but I think it applies a lot to just out like business in general outside of esports, and that's conflict management. Because personally, I did not have a lot of conflict in my life because in high school and in middle school or whatnot, I didn't go outside a lot. I spent most of my time playing video games, so I had very limited social interaction. So then going from that to being someone who has to control a social situation was super crazy to me. So I remember the first time I ever had to sort of get in between two players fighting on a team and having to sort out that situation and sort of learning the ins and outs of like conflict management is really cool.
All right. Is it obvious that this is like the path for you, esports?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everywhere I go, my brain just like thinks in terms of esports. It's like, how could I use this to make my next step in the industry? Like, oh, these people could partner with our college club, or oh wow, this place would be really cool if there was like some esports here, if we got some sort of land center going.
Okay. Now, what unique skills or talents do you think you have? Because like I said, there's people constantly trying to get into esports, and so many are not able to do it. They're failing out, but you're obviously thriving.
Mhm. So one of the biggest things that I find personally that's so important that a lot of people lack trying to get into esports is sort of understanding that there's always someone better than you and having the drive to be that for someone else. So making sure that you go in with a mindset that you're here to learn. And one thing that I take very seriously is like learning and improving myself. And a lot of people trying to get into the industry already think they can be the best. And so I always try to have that mentality of who can I learn from next? Where can I go to get better at what I'm doing?
Okay, on that point, where are you going to learn next? Who are you talking to? What resources are you turning to?
So a lot of the ways that I find these people is I just go and I see someone on Twitter or in a Discord server and I just reach out to them. And most people are really open if you shoot from a DM and be like, hey, like you seem to be really great at this. Can I talk to you about this sometime? And most people are really open to just open to discussion and teaching people who are newer in the scene of esports.
Okay, so you've been doing this for just a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you could go back in time and you could kind of advise your younger self, little Josh back then, and tell him about all the miraculous things that are going to happen, all the advice that you've kind of been learning over the years, you could give all that information to him. But if there was like one piece of knowledge that he had to know, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, for sure, never burn a bridge. Because when I was a lot younger, I used to think it was really cool to like have Twitter beef, and like I thought that made you like more reputable if you had people who didn't like you. But at the end of the day, people are a resource, and the less people you have around you to help you grow, the harder it's gonna be. One of the ways I learned this is someone who was actually my roommate last year at college, and one of my good friends, Garrett. We used to hate each other. We used to beef on Twitter. We used to go at each other all the time, and one day we sort of talked, and we realized that we weren't so different and that we could get along. And that from then on, I try to make sure that I never burned a bridge and I always left things on good terms with people.
Okay. From your perspective, where do you think the most growth in esports is going to happen over the next couple of years?
I think the biggest thing that we're starting to see is collegiate esports specifically. I think a lot more colleges are realizing that it's worth investing in, and we start seeing more and more schools pop up as real powerhouses in the collegiate scene. And I see that as a trend over time, especially with how COVID impacted the online world so heavily, that people are realizing how important esports can really be.
Okay. And, those people constantly trying to get in. Do you have any advice for them on how to actually get into this space? Maybe it's just a wish, an aspiration. Maybe they're not particularly good at any games. Maybe they don't particularly have any skills. What would you recommend people do?
I always recommend shoot your shot. If you find someone and you see what they're doing and you like what they're doing, reach out to them. And maybe that's not your person, but the worst thing that can ever happen is they say no. And if someone says no, it's the first no you get. Just go again. Just keep trying. And eventually you'll find your yes and you'll find your way in.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Josh, a little more personally, where are you going to be in 5 years? That typical interview question.
Yeah. Well, I'm currently a sophomore in college, so I'd still have a few more years after that. But once I graduate, my dream is to work at Riot Games with people who make League of Legends, specifically in their esports side of things. But if not there, I definitely love to continue working in the collegiate space. Maybe still with a school I'm currently at. I really love the administration that I've been working with, and everyone's been so open to helping esports grow here at Champlain.
Beautiful. All right. Again, on that personal train, Josh, I believe that we learn the most in our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes. Because when you succeed, you may not realize what happened, right? But when you fail, it smacks you in the face. You got to figure out what happened in order to be able to move past it. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, I actually really like that question. I think one of the hardest hitting things for me in my life is LAN. I went to DreamHack Montreal in 2018. I was working. This was one of my first like high level management positions for an esports organization, and we went in expecting to perform really well. We underperformed, and afterwards I was fired and I lost my job. And it hit me really hard that at the end of the day, you can always do something better personally. And while I still like think I did a lot of things wrong. Like it comes together, you're working as a team, and that really taught me that I need to make sure that I'm always holding up on my end of the job and the work I'm doing and the teams I'm working on to make sure that I can then from there help others.
Okay. What specifically you're working to improve on yourself today? You mentioned earlier you're constantly trying to improve.
hmm So I think personally one of my largest weaknesses right now is consistency. So a lot of the times I like to overload myself with work instead of staying at a consistent work level. And so learning better task management and personal like time management is something that I've working towards a lot. Reached out to a lot of my peers and talked to them pretty heavily recently about the best way to balance all the different things I'm doing in my life and what now, and keeping a consistent workload and a consistent level of product that I'm putting out in all those positions.
Okay. You said you're a sophomore in college. What's your major and why did you choose that specifically to get to esports?
So I'm currently a business administration major. I feel like I went to Champlain College for their esports program. I had a friend who had graduated when I was a freshman, and he basically said, "Come here and try to get involved in their esports. It's gonna be something big. Like they're starting to open up to it, and it's like really birthing into a great program." And so, business administration for me, I felt like a great way to learn a lot of those skills, like interpersonal skills and whatnot, of running a business, which oftentimes gets left behind from people in the world of esports, that is I find super important to finding success.
Darn right. That's the point of this whole show.
Yeah.
All right. One more like fun question before I start bringing this in for a landing, Josh. What is something that you think people misunderstand about you the first time they meet you?
I think a lot of people don't take me seriously when they first meet me, and I still have that problem of getting people to take me seriously because I'm super outgoing, and I like to be super friendly and welcoming to everyone. And so a lot of the time, it's hard to get people to like look at me in a more serious or serious tone because they just know me as the like outgoing fun guy. And so when it's time to get down to business and really get work done and I have to be in sort of a managerial position over someone, it's kind of hard for me to stick to that and have people look past the fun side.
For sure. It doesn't hurt that you have a baby face. I was there too.
Yeah, no. I'm 19 years old and people are like, "Oh, are you 14? Like, what are you doing here?" Like, I've definitely like had people like even I had a professor once like confused why I was in their classroom. So
When I was 27, I was partner at a law firm and people would still say, "Are you like even old enough to be here?"
yeah.
All right, Josh, this has been fantastic. How do people find you? Where are you at on social media? Your handles, all that, please.
All right, so I gotta pull up Twitter because I gotta make sure I say my handle right if I'm gonna plug it. I'm at DSG Josh on Twitter. That's the best place to find me. I'm not super active, but I try to maintain some level of activeness there. And if you're curious at all about the college club I'm working at, we are at champ CHAMP _ esports on Twitter. So go check it out. Go check out our school. We're doing great things. A lot to come there.
All right, I love it. And Josh, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
I think we covered everything. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Josh. I really genuinely appreciate you taking the time to come on with us today.
Yeah, of course. This was a great time. I appreciate you reaching out.
For sure. And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.